I'm back. Part two of how to tell somebody that you're dealing with an eating disorder. Um, I knew that the time was up because I set the timer on the stove in the kitchen. So, yeah. Okay. Um, I really don't know where I left off because I just ran off and went and turned the timer off because it was buzzing. But I also wanted to talk about in this one of how to help someone with an eating disorder. If you suspect that someone has an eating disorder, like the viewer, if you're watching, if you don't have an eating disorder and you're kind of, you don't understand eating disorders, of how to help someone with one, or even if you do have an eating disorder and you have a friend that has an eating disorder, and I know um, how much you want to help them. And sometimes with wanting to help them, you kind of forget about yourself. You kind of put your problems on the back burner and you want to help them first and foremost. But my advice on that is to make sure that you always put your health first. You know, you can't change somebody. We can't go out and save the world, save everybody else from their eating disorders, or the eating disorders that they're dealing with. Because I know sometimes I've referred to my eating disorder. I shouldn't say that. It's not my eating disorder. It's not a part of me. It's something that um, I have been living with. It's something that I'm dealing with and I'm trying to recover from. But it's not a part of me. I'm my own person. The eating disorder shouldn't be a part of my identity. So I just want to make that clear. But gosh, what was I saying? Oh, even if you want to help somebody that has the eating disorder, and you have an eating disorder yourself, you often want to put yourself in the back burner and help them first and foremost. But as I said, you need to take care of yourself first because we can't go out and save the world. Like I said, we can't change people, and if you're a believer, you know that only God can change people. That you can't force anybody to change. And you just need to know that first and foremost. You can give them your advice, you can give them encouragement and comfort, but you can't change them. So you need to know that and remember that, because sometimes uh, we'll go out there and we'll try our hardest to do everything for everybody else, but we waste away ourselves, and we end up looking like hypocrites, kind of sometimes. And that's not a good way to be. We don't want to be um, hypocritical. And even though it's not, I'm not saying this in a bad light. It's good if you want to go out there and help people, but just know that you can't change people. You can't change them. I've tried and it doesn't work. You can only change yourself. And once you start to change yourself, you'll realize that you can't change other people. Um, so if you don't have an eating disorder and you don't know how to help a friend with an eating disorder, my best advice is to not focus on their weight. Not sit there and say, gosh, you're just looking so thin, you need help, because what that puts in their head is, they sometimes with an eating disorder, you want to hear, you're looking so thin. That feeds the eating disorder part. That eating disorder is fueled by that. You don't need to don't focus on weight. Don't mention anything about weight. I mean, I know inside you might be scared for them because of the physical way that they look, but the eating disorder is so much more about weight. Um, it's about the mental state that they're in. You need to just give them encouraging words. Maybe sit down with them. Ask them if you could talk with them. Just say, hey, I want to talk. You want to come over? Make sure it's a comfortable setting. And they might get defensive, and if they do, stop. Talking about it. They've got to be the ones that need to be comfortable. Because it's very hard to talk about, and it's shameful, and they feel guilt, and because they feel like they're hurting everybody around them, and they don't want to be doing that. They're not. It's not intentional. At times, it's not intentional at all, and you just need to make sure they're comfortable with you in talking about this, and you just need to listen. You need to let them talk. You don't need to interrupt. Um, Maybe tell them that you can help them find some resources, some treatment centers, if they willingly want treatment. Don't just say, okay, well, you need treatment. We can fix this. Don't tell them that you can fix this. They have to fix it. You can't fix anything in their life. So just let them know that you're there for them if they ever need to talk. As I said, maybe tell them, give them some resources if they want the treatment. You can encourage recovery, but don't force it. Um, and just help them along. Help them if they, be accountable for them. Let them know things that they're doing, but in a comforting, friendly way, not like, you haven't eaten much, look at your plate. Don't pinpoint out things like that because that only feeds the eating disorder. So, just kindly, friendly say, gosh, because sometimes this is so irrelevant. Sometimes it's, you might want to say, do you want to try this food? If they say no, and ask them why. Ask them why. Is it a fear food? Because some people have fear foods when you have an eating disorder, and if they reject it, don't force it. You might want to sit down and talk about, after you talk about the mental state that they're in, talk about foods that they fear, and tell them that food is, we need food to live. It's not all life is, but we do need food to live, and we need to nourish our bodies, and help them to know how important nutrition is. Help them to differentiate that food isn't the enemy, that the eating disorder is the enemy, and they need to be battling the eating disorder, not the food. Um, just help them to overcome, certain things, certain ideas that they have about food, even though they really, in saying that, they really need to discuss that with the doctor and a therapist first and foremost. Only with an understanding doctor and therapist, because there's so many doctors out there and therapists out there that focus too much on the weight, and that's just how society is. They focus too much on the weight when they hear of somebody having an eating disorder, as I see in so many magazines, posted on the front of magazines. So and so celebrity is this many pounds. Is she anorexic? It's just like, being so many pounds doesn't mean somebody's anorexic or has an eating disorder. But anyways, I've kind of been thinking too much in this video, probably, and not made sense in some parts, because I think and then I say something and I'm like, well, wait, that could backfire if you say some things to people with an eating disorder, because eating disorders are very complex, and they're something that is very emotional to talk about. The things that you say can be very triggering. When you first talk to a friend about an eating disorder, you've just got to be very careful with your words. I know it feels like maybe you're stepping over glass, but you've got to think of their feelings too, and you can't save them, and you can only save yourself and help yourself. If you're dealing with an eating disorder, focus on you first. You can't save the world. You can only encourage people. But anyways, I guess I'll end this. I hope that there was something good in that, um, if anything. But because sometimes I'm insecure myself, even when I make videos, I'm very insecure of. I'm like, oh, that was a stupid video. But I shouldn't be thinking that. I try to stay positive, and I am positive for the most part of my day. I just try to clear out my thoughts, and that's all you can do. And I pray. That's what gets me through is my prayers, talking to God, and just thinking upon God, thinking that life isn't about being this idea and this perfection in my head, not letting triggers get to me, and the triggers that are surrounding me that are unnecessary, just getting rid of them, like the scale, and even if you have to put paper on the back of labels of food, for the time being, when you're first in recovery, to just forget about calories and numbers and all that stuff. So, but I'm kind of rambling in this video. So, anyways, talk to y'all later. Bye.